Okay, well, let's do introductions first. I'm Katie, and I work at the Whale Center, and I'm gonna popcorn it to Trevor.
Hi, I'm Trevor. I actually just started with the Whale Center. I'm happy to meet everyone and participate with the youth activity event. If you continue to do these regularly, you'll probably start to see me from month to month as we do them. So, but yeah, I'm just super excited to meet everybody. And popcorn to Tiffany.
I'm Tiffany. I'm programs assistant with the Whale Center and Orca Network, and I'm excited to see some familiar faces, but also a couple new ones.
Do not fit yet. Still.
And Trevor also has his son Ragnar with him.
Yes, I've got my son Ragnar, who's
Yeah.
5 years. He's going to be participating in the event. So
Yeah. So just in case you guys have forgotten, we usually start everybody on mute so that our presenters can present without being interrupted, like my dog's doing right now. But if you want to, you can use the little raise your hand feature, which is found on the bottom bar. And then that'll kind of remind us to call on you after we're done with our presentation. Or when we're done, you can just unmute yourself and ask. We're pretty casual. We will be doing an activity at the end, which I hope most of you got the printout. And don't forget to look for our friend Ollie the octopus. I think most of you have been here. Yes, thank you. So this is the signal. If you see Ollie, it's like, where's Waldo? Except for it's Ollie the octopus. And he's really tiny this time, so you're gonna have to look very carefully for him. And we do this because this is the scuba signal for if you were scuba diving and you saw an octopus, you would do this and it would tell you the other divers. So that's why we're doing that. And I'm going to launch a poll really quick. We added a kind of a fun question at the end, so pay attention. Can you guys see that? So you're just letting us know where you guys are coming from. We like to know how many people we have joining us from far away or close by. We almost have all of you. And it's also okay if you don't want to fill out the poll. Just going to give you a couple more seconds to get it done. Okay, these are fun results. So we have almost all of you from Washington State, except for our kiddos that are from Washington, D.C. And most of you are from Whidbey Island, with a couple of you from Seattle and Tacoma. And all but one of you that answered have been here before. So thanks for coming back. And also thanks to whoever joined us today for the first time. And my favorite question, if you could have any animal adaptation, would you want to? And majority of you picked wings to fly. I love that. I also would pick wings, with a tie for second place between fins or flippers, arm regeneration, and echolocation. I think that most of the adults, when we were writing the poll, wanted to do blubber, but that's probably because we're grown-ups and we get more cold than you do.
I still would take the flippers.
Yes. All right, now that that is done, I wanted to also add that Cindy Hansen, who you guys have probably all met before, except for the whoever joined us for the first time today, she might be joining us later too, because she has a special story to tell. So today's Zoom, I'm sure you already know, but just to remind you, is all about marine animal relationships. So we tried to find some fun relationships that aren't what you would expect to see out there in the Salish Sea. So I am going to let Tiffany go ahead and take it away with her stories.
All right. Just give me a second. I'm going to share my screen really quick. All right. Can everybody see it? You guys good? Can you see it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to start by talking about tufted puffins. So tufted puffins, they're a type of bird, an auklet. They're really small. So picture about the size of a football, and they weigh about the size, or about as much as a loaf of bread. So a really small bird, but this really small bird travels really far when it comes to find a mate. And so they spend most of their winters, this is where they are right now, off feeding out in the open ocean, in the sea. And they fly some up by Alaska in the Arctic, but many just right here in the Salish Sea. And they fly so that they can meet their mate. And they actually mate with the same other tufted puffin for life. So they start around the age of 2 to 3 years old, coming to breeding grounds to find somebody to mate with so that they can raise an egg. And they'll do really cool rituals. The males will show off their feathers and rub their beaks against the ladies. And when they find another puffin that they like, they'll return every year to find that same puffin to lay another egg with. And something really cool is that they actually only lay one egg. So tufted puffins, they have one chance each year of having another puffin that will survive to add to the population. And you can see in this bottom left photo, you'll often see if you know that there's a puffin around that has a ton of fish in its mouth, it's a good sign that it's actually collecting food to take back to a little baby puffin in a burrow. And so when they fly out here, what they're looking for are these nice little cliffs right here that they're able to use their beaks to dig burrows with. So those burrows sometimes are up to 9 feet deep, and that's where they'll lay their one egg. And I saw you guys did see our octopus there, and he's watching you too. And so try not to get too overwhelmed. That's pretty adorable. That's a baby puffin right there. So that's their goal when they fly out here and they mate, is to be able to raise an egg so that they have a successful little hatchling. So another story about a relationship that we've seen here in the Salish Sea. It's one of my favorite stories from my summer, out whale watching and looking for whales. I got to spend a lot of time with who we call the butcher boys. And so for some of you guys who have been here before, you might remember Biggs orcas. And so if you guys want to put into the chat, I'll give you a second to put, what do Biggs orcas eat? What type of what type of food do they eat? And to make it a little bit simpler, I'll say marine mammals or salmon. Biggs orcas, what do they eat? Any guesses if you want to put it in the chat? Got a salmon. Give one more minute. So Biggs orcas actually eat, Theo said it, seals. So seals is one type of food, marine mammals. And so the two that I mentioned, Jude and Amir, they come from two different pods, two different families of orcas. And so orcas are matriarchal. So they're typically, when you see them, it's a pod, and that pod is led by the oldest female, the mom. and it's her traveling with her babies. And so we had two families of orcas here in the Salish Sea that are frequently visit. And one is the T65A family, and the other is the T49A family. And for years, if you guys Google T65A and T49A families, Salish Sea, you'll find stories from local whale watch industries online and from other whale watchers just from shore of seeing these two families travel together. And what's really interesting about these families is they both had a male orca born in 2007. And so these two orcas that were both born in 2007, they grew up playing with each other, just like you guys who have friends on the playground or at school. They were friends. They would meet up with the other family and see each other. Something interesting about orcas, though, is that the males typically will stay with their moms for life. Now, these two males, I have arrows pointing to them. They are, see if it keeps going. Hold on. Hold on, my screen froze for a second. So I'm just gonna exit out really quick and see if I can load back in. But these two orcas are still not going. Hold on. I don't know why it's not loading. Might just.
In the meantime, Walter, you have a great whale. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. So technical difficulty. Okay, so these two orcas are T65A3 Amir and T49A2 Jude. So like I said, there are two males that were born same year, 2007 babies. And they were born to two different families. But like I said, as young calves, they grew up playing with each other, hunting together. And unlike most male orcas, for some reason, they split off early from their pods. And so this summer, we saw these two meet up here in the Salish Sea, and only 15 years old. And so way earlier than we usually will see any split off from their mom. And they hung out with each other for several weeks. And it's really cool is that there's a boat that somebody who spends a lot of time with whales that I had actually listened to a podcast, and they said that when they split up, when T65A3 split up from his family, Jude, T49A2, was over 100 miles away. And just the next day, they met up, and it was almost like they had planned a date, and then they just stuck to it, and they kept hanging out. And they became known as the Butcher Boys, and that is because they were really good at hunting. So for such a small group, only two orcas, they were really good at killing those marine mammals, those seals. And I got to see that a lot this summer. We saw them quite often chasing after seals and even sea lions and porpoises. And they made the kills very quick. I won't show you guys them killing anything, don't worry. But you can just kind of see how stealthy they are. And they worked as a team really, really well.
Me too.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I wanted to show you guys, we got to see a lot of this with them. They became two of my favorite whales to watch this summer. I loved their, what we call sprouters. So their dorsals are just starting to straighten up. age. Male dorsals can actually get to about 6 feet tall. So these guys are still growing and they're still learning how to hunt. And they're already kind of those apex predators that we think of as really stealthy. And you can see there's a seal bobbing its head right there, actually, right in the middle of them.
Oh, gosh.
So the other story that I wanted to share with you guys was our local elephant seals. So these are my personal favorite type of animal. And I don't know if any of you have been lucky enough to meet Miss Elsie May. But Miss Elsie May is an elephant seal that she comes back to Anacortes every year to molt. And she was born right here on Whidbey Island. And this year she had her very first pup. And we named him Emerson. And what's really interesting about elephant seals is that they actually only spend about a month with their babies. So it's a very short relationship. Otherwise, they're pretty solitary creatures. They spend most of the year, 8 to 9 months, out in the open ocean feeding just by themselves. And it's only that first month of life that they really form a bond. And it was incredible to see. When Emerson was born, he was very tiny, and over the course of 4 weeks, he gained about 10 pounds a day. So he went from about 60 to 70 pounds to when we weighed him, he was about 270. So that's really quick growth. What was really cool was we saw Elsie really start to fall in love with Emerson. So when she first had Emerson,
I mean,
it was cool because she had been always really seeming to want a friend, always trying to interact with other animals, but she was scared of Emerson. He would always squawk at her, and I'll go back a little bit because I think I just missed the squawking, but he would always squawk at her like that, kind of like a chicken. And she looked scared, not really sure what to do about it. But by the 4th week that she was with him, they had a routine down and they seemed to have really bonded. And we saw that what looked to us like love, it looked like she loved him. And so this is Emerson nursing. And at this point, he's about 3 weeks old. So he's a chubby baby. And you can see that little robin peeking in the background, like, what is going on? So yeah, here's day 1. And here is week, about 2 days after week 3. So 3 weeks old in 2 days. So you can see he was very small to start. She was big and round from filling up on octopus and squid over the winter. And then by the 3rd week, he was a little sausage and about the same size as her.
You said really
Oh, neat.
when he was that far.
And this was right before Elsie was getting ready to leave. And this was one of the most heartbreaking things I saw because you could tell that she was starting to tell him it was about time for her to go and for him to be an elephant seal and start living life on his own.
I know.
And then this was one of the last couple days that I saw of their relationship and their time together. So she started to kind of show him, all this time they had really just been up in the grass, and she started to show him just down by the beach.
Just trying to get her to
Because this entire time she nursed him and didn't go in the water. And something really incredible is she doesn't teach him how to swim. She didn't teach him how to find food. She just made sure that he was healthy enough so that when she left, he could teach himself how to swim. And so you have to kind of look between those two tall beams there. You can see him splashing. That kind of doggy paddle splashing in the distance. It's really hard to see. That's actually Emerson trying to teach himself how to swim. It's a lot like us when we learn how to swim for the first time. We're a little bit unsure what to do, and there's a lot of splashing and just uncertainty. And we saw that with Emerson. And as from that little bit of time that he spent with Elsie, my favorite thing was that he was a lot like Mom. She rubbed off on him, and we see her personality in him.
It's like Elsie.
And these cones are set up because it's through the stranding network, and we work to try to keep them away from people and people away from them to keep them safe. But for their personality, sometimes those bright orange objects are just like play toys. But yeah, so those are my 3 stories I wanted to share with you guys. It's just really cool to see the different relationships that we see among these different species. So I'll pass it over to Katie.
Awesome. Let's see if I can get my screen up here. Okay, so, and I got these stories from Cindy Hansen, who I think was able to get here. I think she showed up while we were showing your slides, Tiffany. So this first story is about 2 very special gray whales who are named Shackleton and Earhart. So most people and most scientists believe that gray whales don't form bonds or have relationships with each other. Gray whales don't live in family pods like the orcas that we've talked about and other dolphins. But nobody seems to have told Shackleton and Earhart that, because they came to Puget Sound together in 1990. So if you guys think about that, that was more than 30 years ago. And they came in here looking for food, and they have been coming back ever since. During the years when they are both here together, they like to spend time together. They like to travel together and look for food together. And so we don't really know what this relationship is, because it's not something that is normally observed in gray whales, but we know that they have been friends, and they've been doing this for over 30 years. And these gray whales come to visit us here in the Salish Sea and around the Whidbey waters. Some of you, if you're from Whidbey, you may have been able to see gray whales feeding on off the shore. And this is what it looks like when they're feeding. Those are actually, so that's only 2 of them. That's Shackleton and Earhart. But it looks like more whales because you're seeing one of their pec fins, so their arms, and one of the side of their fluke or their tail. Okay, and the next story we have is about a really special humpback named Big Mama. A long time ago, humpback whales were common in the Salish Sea, but whalers completely wiped them out in this area. So for many years after that, no one was able to see humpbacks in the Salish Sea. But one day, a humpback was seen near Victoria, British Columbia, which is just north of Washington, and people were really excited. And that humpback turned out to be Big Mama. She continues to come back here every summer now to feed on fish. And over the years, she's actually brought 7 babies back with her from Hawaii, which is where humpbacks go to breed. She returns every year, and she now brings 500 of her closest friends. So there are now over 500 humpback whales who've been identified here. And it all began with this one special whale, Big Mama. So I'm going to show you a video really quick. So really glad that she brought back the humpbacks to the Salish Sea. And this is a video that Tiffany provided me with of one of her observations of Big Mama and her latest calf. So there you can see mom, and then that little dorsal fin in the back, that's a baby. There's mama again. And that's a deep dive there. And little baby doing the same thing as mom. And I am actually going to let Cindy's tell the last story we have here. If you're ready, Cindy.
I am. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Sorry for being late. I just got off a ferry and got home, but I'm really glad to be here and really glad to talk about one of my favorite whales in the entire world. She is a southern resident orca from J-Pod. Her name is J22, also known as Oreo, and she is very special. I first met Oreo when she was about 13 years old, and she's 37 now, so I've known her for a really, really long time. And she is an amazing mom. She, as you probably know, the orcas, the southern resident orcas, they stay in families their entire lives. So the males and the females, they stay with mom forever. And the moms help take care of their kids and their grandkids. So Oreo has only one kid. She has a son. His name is Cookie, and he's pretty amazing. But she also likes to be an auntie whale to a lot of the babies in J-Pod. And there are scientists from the Center for Whale Research. They actually use drones to study the orcas. So they can fly these drones above them, they can take pictures of them, and they can take video. And what they're doing is they're studying their behaviors and trying to figure out how they're interacting with each other and what their relationships are with each other and what they're doing. Because sometimes when we look at them from the side, like if we're watching from shore or if we're watching on a boat, we can't really tell very well what they're doing. So being able to use a drone gives them a lot more information. And what they found is that Oreo is actually helping to take care of some of the other babies in J-Pod that she isn't even really closely related to. They're in her pod, so she's kind of distantly related to them, but not really closely related. And what the scientists used to think, and what we all kind of saw from the surface, was that it seemed like these whales were sharing food with each other. So they would catch a fish and they would share it with their family members. And everybody used to think that they would share it with immediate family. So like one would catch a fish and share it with her kids, or somebody might catch a fish and share it with her brother or her sister. But what they're finding is sometimes they share fish with whales that aren't even closely related to them. And that's what the scientists actually saw Oreo doing. So in just a few minutes here, we'll show you a video of this that the scientists were able to get. But what happened was they saw a pretty wonderful sight when they were doing drone video last summer. So what you're going to see in this video is a couple of young orcas from J-Pod. So one of them is J58 Crescent. She was only about a year old at the time, and her big brother, J51 Nova. And they were trying to catch a salmon, but they weren't doing a very good job of it. They were really making kind of a mess of it. The salmon kept getting away. They kept chasing it again, and it kept getting away. And Oreo was kind of watching off to the side. So you'll kind of see that in the video. You'll see the two kids, and then you'll see Oreo off to the side. And she watches them for a little while, lets them keep trying. And then finally, she comes in and she catches the salmon. And when you first see this, you might think, oh, she took that salmon from them, poor things. But she really surprised the researchers because she then bit that salmon into pieces and fed it to the kids. And ever since that day, she's been traveling with a lot of the new babies in the pod and kind of babysitting them and giving their moms a break, which is really, really cool to see. And it just tells us a lot about the relationships these whales have with each other. So I'm going to have Katie play this video, and I'll kind of try to talk you through it a little bit. All right, so what you're seeing in the middle there are the two kids. So that's Crescent and Nova. And Oreo is all the way over to the left side there. You can just kind of barely see her. She's just watching as they're kind of making a mess of trying to catch this salmon and not doing a very good job of it. And you see Oreo coming up here. There she is, kind of right in the center. She's going to come up right in the middle of that splash of water. And when she comes up here in just a moment, you'll see her again, and she actually has the salmon in her mouth. So hopefully you can see that. There she is on the left, and the two kids start following her. And again, at first you might think she kind of took that fish from the kids, but watch, she's going to actually kind of turn her head a little bit. And when she does that, she bites off a piece of that salmon and leaves it for one of the kids. And then she does it again and bites off another piece for the other kid. So pretty cool. The scientists were kind of surprised by that because, again, they thought that these whales were sharing with their family members, but to see them sharing with whales that they aren't even really closely related to is pretty cool. And again, Oreo has become kind of the auntie whale to a lot of the little babies. So here's a picture of her in the front, and then right behind her is the newest baby in J-Pod, J59, who doesn't even have a name yet, and J59's mom, J37 Heishka. So Oreo was kind of hanging out with them and helping to babysit the little one, and she's been doing that with all of the babies. So she's just like the best auntie whale there is. All right, so that's my story, one of my favorite whales in the whole world.
Yay, I'm glad you made it so that you can tell your whale story, Cindy.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? I see a sea otter. No questions? We wanted to keep it kind of light and fun this month. And since a lot of you, we're going into the holiday season where we spend a lot of time with our friends and family, we wanted to show you what that looks like in the marine animal world. So lots of family and extended family and friendships and relationships that surprise us and relationships that last forever. So thanks for coming, guys. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to share the activity really quick for anybody who didn't get a chance. It's in your email though. So if you didn't get a chance to print yours out, it is in your email and you can do it later. So what we wanted you to do this time was to be super creative. We wanted you to come up with 2 species and then let us know how they might help each other if they had a friendship. And then you could plop them in an ecosystem if you wanted to. So I'm going to stop sharing. And if you already did the activity or if you were working on it during the Zoom today, you can go ahead and show us your work if you'd like to. And if you want to unmute and tell us what you chose, that would be awesome as well. We'd love to see them. And Walter has a really great family group over here. Extended family of Pokemon and otters and gray whales.
Yeah. These are some of my favorite stuffed animals.
That
Do
is
they have names?
This is my favorite.
Pikachu, right?
Yeah.
To pull back some of my little kid memories.
Then there's also my gray whale named Nori and just Otto.
And just otter. I love it.
Otter. Otter's a good name though.
That's perfect. And we have an orca over here swimming through a screen. With Cleo and Luna and Lainey. Does anybody want to share their species that they picked? You don't even, if you don't want to show your picture, you could also tell us about it. And if you're still working on it, you can always, if you wanted to share it with us, you could email it to us as well.
We have a question.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you have any examples of different species in the Salish Sea forming friendships?
Ooh, that's a good question.
So that Elsie May, the mom that I talked about, that had the pup this year, she's been known for many years now to form relationships with harbor seals. So a northern elephant seal and a harbor seal, which we at least haven't heard of many cases of this. And Elsie, just this past fall, she was actually back and she just came to rest really quick. And she was seen almost every morning having her little morning play session with the harbor seals in the marina near her.
I'll also add that the gray whales, maybe not so much here, but when they're down in Mexico, they like to hang out sometimes with the dolphins. So they'll like bow ride, the dolphins will come bow riding around the heads of the gray whales. And there was one time when I saw a gray whale playing with a sea lion for over an hour. And the sea lion was like jumping over her head, and she was upside down pushing the sea lion with her head. And they played like this for over an hour. So they do have friendships sometimes with other species, which is really fun.
I have another one, not Salish Sea, but down by Antarctica, humpback whales have been seen. Now this is really, really cool. They've been seen helping seals escape orcas. So there have been researchers down in Antarctica, and they've seen humpback whales where they're way off in the distance and there's a pod of orcas trying to get a seal off of an ice cap down there. And the seal will beeline it, swim as fast as it can for that humpback whale. And the humpback whale will turn onto its side and let the seal up onto its side. And it'll just lift the seal out of the water so the orcas can't get it.